Thesis sentences. We're going to learn about thesis sentences today in this PowerPoint. The thesis sentence is just one of the sentences in the introduction that you just took notes on. But it is such an important sentence that we're going to look at it completely separate from the introduction and talk just about that one sentence. Here's your definition. A thesis sentence in a paragraph presents the writer's reason for writing and tells the reader what the writer plans to prove or explain. Basically, a thesis sentence is going to tell your reader what your topic for your whole essay is. Thesis sentences are used in information writing, also known as expository writing. Thesis sentences can be written in any tone: serious, humorous, threatening, encouraging, inspiring. But be careful, because the tone that you choose should depend upon the purpose of your paragraph and the audience you are writing to. Keep in mind when you are doing a district writing test or a state writing test that you are writing to adult professionals. So you want your tone, your mood, to fit that audience and the purpose for your writing. Thesis sentences can be very short and direct or long and elaborate. For example, a short one would be, "I love pizza." Clearly, you're going to talk about your love for pizza. Another way that you could say that in a more elaborate and long way is, "I am happy anytime that my family goes out for dinner, but I only do my famous backflips if they say we are going out for pizza." Clearly, as you look at the two, the second one is much more interesting. Keep that in mind when you're creating your thesis sentences. Thesis sentences can be written in first, second, or third person. Here's an example for first person. "Even though I have not mastered setting up a database, I can already imagine a number of ways to use the database program." Here's an example for second person. "When you and your friends want to learn about nature, ask one of the Forest Service men or women at the new Fossil Creek Preserve." And a third person example. "Although adverbs and adjectives are different parts of speech, they have two things in common." However, for your descriptive essays, remember you want to try to keep them in first person. Paragraphs for all subject areas require strong and clear topic sentences. Here's an example that you might use in math. "Learning to read and write Roman numerals was easier than I thought it would be." For science, "Today our group learned how a battery makes electricity from chemicals." In art class, we looked at many kinds of architecture to help us design our own buildings. And in literature, "If you read The Island of the Blue Dolphins, you will meet a very courageous girl named Cariana." Okay, so this year, you are going to be required to write occasion-position thesis statements. Occasion means your reason for writing. Your position is what you plan to prove or explain. Basically, your thesis statement has to be a complex sentence, having a dependent clause and an independent clause. Here are some starter words that you can use to start your OP statement. After, as soon as, even though, so what, whenever, although, because, if, though, where, as, before, in order that, unless, wherever, as if, even, in order to, until, whether, as long as, even if, since, when, and while. What I mean by starter words is that this would be your first word in your sentence. Here are some examples of occasion-position statements. Although my family and I have taken many wonderful vacations, none was more fun and exciting than our camping trip to the Grand Canyon. Before you make the decision to light up a cigarette, consider the problems caused by smoking. If students use chemicals to do science experiments, it is important that they learn the proper way to dispose of them. Notice that each of these examples has an occasion, position, starter word, although, before, and if. They have dependent clauses, although my family and I have taken many wonderful vacations. Before you make the decision to light up a cigarette, and if students use chemicals to do science experiments. And the independent clause. None was more fun and exciting than our camping trip to the Grand Canyon. Consider the problems caused by smoking. It is important that they learn the proper way to dispose of them. Each of these examples is set up in the same way. The occasion, position, statement. All right, now that you know what occasion, position, statements are, take out the worksheet practice that you were given. You need to write 2 examples of occasion, position, statements on each side of that paper.